All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Serious Angler Podcast. We're back with the captain, Mr. Andy Full. And as always, I'm your host, Bailey Eichbrett. And folks, I think first and foremost, we have a wild one for you guys tonight. As you guys can see in social media as of recent, some big announcements across the board. A lot of conversation that's just been going on for the past couple of years. And we're going to start tonight's show off hot with our pal, our friend, Mr. Brad Fuller from the National Professional Fishing League. And we're going to kind of give him a voice beyond just the press release that you guys have seen floating around all of social media this week and talk about their decision to remove forward-facing sonar from 2025, the NPFL. I'm sure you guys have seen that on the episode with BTL and all that stuff, but we wanted to help out our friends over at the NPFL, get them on here as I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it. And we'll talk about that more when we get Brad on here, but we got Brad joining us, and we'll have him for about 15, 20 minutes. And then we'll be joined by Bassmaster Elite Series rookies, Kyle Patrick, Wesley Gore. And then after those jabronis have their time on the show and we talk to them for a while, we're going to get on our new friend, Mr. Kevin Nakata from Bates Fishing Reels. And we're going to get I don't know if you guys have seen these yet, but they're pretty legit. They actually just got into Omnia fishing. I got one in my hands that it feels completely different from any other reel on the market.
So nice.
It's very intriguing. Nice. So we're going to learn about the composition of it, the whole story, because I'm sure some people have seen the Bates fishing reels around the market a little bit. But we're gonna talk about that, the whole story behind that. And Kevin's got a long list of jobs from the industry. He's had a lot of experience, so we'll talk through that with him. But before we do that, quick two things for you guys. We're gonna get Brad on here. We don't want to waste too much time for tonight's show because we got a lot of action to bring to you guys. But first and foremost there is 30% off rods right now at Omnia Fishing. You guys can take advantage of 30%.
Good ones too, right? St. Croix. I think there's an Arc rod, a Janko rod, and then what's the last one?
We got Dobbins, Shimano and Tenzas as well. So if you guys want to save some money on some rods at Omnia Fishing, head over there. 30% off while supplies last. So take advantage while you can. And then last but not least, for folks that might not stick around to the end, next week we are having on for our Tuesday Night Live for next week. It is the freshman frat house, if you will, is what I'm going to call it. Except you got Cody Huff in there, who's not a freshman anymore, obviously. But we got Logan Parks, John Garrett, Rob G, and I'm calling him Big Daddy Cody Huff because he's the only quote-unquote elite vet of the house.
Grandpa.
Yeah. So we're having the whole dang house on the show next week, so it's going to be pretty rowdy. It's going to be a good time. But
hopefully it's story time. Like they can just 100%. Tell stories about their entire year. That'll be fantastic.
Yeah, we're gonna put some insights behind Logan's YouTube channel, some of the shenanigans we saw go down. But I think without further ado, let's bring on our first guest for tonight, Mr. Brad Fuller. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? And before we even get started, if we have time, I've got a John Garrett story. So you can hit it with them later. I'll just jump in the comments and dump it on you. But I got a John Garrett story. Good dude.
You can't. Yeah, we have to know that. So yeah, we're definitely gonna make time for that. We'll take any time to put John Garrett on the spot.
Yeah. Preach.
Yeah. Well, dude. So first and foremost, it's obviously been all over social media. You've been on BTL, and I'm sure you've had the podcast gauntlet, phone calls, everything. I'm sure you haven't had a free second of time since the announcement.
Unrelenting, I'm sure, at times.
Yeah. But
it's been interesting, but yeah, for sure.
I can't even imagine, dude. And this is the one thing I want to say, and then I really would love to have people listen to you, have a voice behind the press release that everyone's seen. But first off, I want to say it is really well said, and I respect the hell out of you guys for making the decision because that is not an easy one to make. Whether you're for or against, you got to respect the hell out of you guys having the guts to make that decision and going against the grain. And man, I've, like we talked about a little bit offline, we've always been NPFL supporters, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this does for you guys next year and being something different from that everybody's been asking for. I shouldn't say everybody, but there's certainly been a crowd that's been asking for.
I was like, I can send you a list if you need the nays, but yeah,
it's been a crowd for sure.
No, man, I appreciate that. And thanks for having me on. This is all part of it. If you're not willing to do this stuff, then you should have stayed on the couch. So here we are. Let's get it going.
Heck yeah, man. Well, yeah, I guess we'll say floor is yours. What really, I know we had a little bit in the press release of what went into the decision. Obviously not an easy one. I think you laid it out perfectly in regards to, it's not verbatim. I don't have it up here, but you basically said, I use forward facing I love it as an angler. I use it. I understand it. I've learned so much about it. But from a business and a content consumption standpoint for the fans, this is why I made this decision. So we'll love to kind of dive deeper more into that and what you guys did to come to this decision for 25.
Yeah. So thanks, Bailey. And I'll tell you, man, like Ken Duke actually gave me the best analogy, and I'm going to expand on it based on my last conversation I had a few minutes ago because something hit me. So let's say you live in a town, a small town, and you've got three. Sorry about that. Imagine that.
I'm sure that's been the 400th of those you gotten today.
You live in a small town and there's 3 ice cream shops, right? But all 3 ice cream shops only serve vanilla ice cream, right? And now there's an ice cream shop that comes into town and they offer chocolate. You're like, man, not everybody in town wants chocolate. Some people are perfectly content with vanilla, but now people have an option between vanilla and chocolate. Sometimes maybe they want something a little bit different, or maybe they try chocolate like, man, this is for me. I want this all the time. And that was Ken's analogy to me. And that's what we're doing here. We're offering some variety and diversity in the bass fishing market. One of the crux of the decisions points when I got to a point, you look at Champlain, St. Lawrence, and Saginaw Bay. Put silhouettes of the anglers up, take away the logos, take away the names on the jerseys. It all looks the same, right? And you can apply that mantra, go back through the season and look at the tournaments. One of the biggest kind of factors for me going into this was, man, do I have an opportunity for my business to create some divergence between myself and my competitors? I said, yes, I believe there is. Do I have a chance to maybe force a reallocation of assets with regard to sponsorship, audience, and fans? Yes, I think there are. Do I hate forward-facing sonar? Absolutely not. And simply banning forward-facing sonar or prohibiting the use of, to use Ken's words, forward-facing sonar by itself is not going to propel the NPFL to the next level. So what we've instituted is really a long-term plan to create a media monster and up the content generation, be able to promote sponsors, anglers, and our company and what we do on a day-to-day basis through our media company or through a media monster that we're trying to get up and running, or we are getting up and running. The banning of the forward-facing sonar was really our ability to create divergence and create diversity, where there are clearly people that we've seen in the comments of all the social media, however many comments it's up to now, that are for it and against it. Now the people who say, man, I just don't like watching it. I don't enjoy consuming that content, whether it's on social media, through reels, hearing anglers talk about it, or whatever. The question we had to ask ourselves, is that a business opportunity for the NPFL? Clearly, the answer that we answer that is yes. So whether you like the decision or don't like the decision, this wasn't about ostracizing young anglers. This wasn't about stymieing the innovation and technology. This wasn't about catering to the old guys who can't catch them anymore, right? This was about creating diversity and a divergence between us and our competitors that we felt like we were uniquely positioned to do because we have less influences that cause us to make those decisions, AKA there ain't no electronic companies dumping money in the NPFL. We're no worse off today sponsor-wise than we were before. Matter of factly, we have the opportunity to gain sponsorships and make ourselves more viable for companies that maybe want to be in business either A, with cause marketing and getting behind what we're doing, or B, just see a chance to get a better return on their investment with the NPFL based on our decision. So
yeah,
that's it. Next.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. And the one thing that I've seen that I really want to call attention to from a comment standpoint, and we don't like to pay a lot of attention to the social media comments here on this show, but the one thing I want to make a point of is there's people out there that that it didn't like that there was this decision they're not going to watch because there's not forward-facing sonar. Well, I'm curious about that. Is what did they do before forward-facing sonar was a thing? Did they not enjoy the entertainment, or it's all still fishing? I mean, it's still going to be that. I just have a different facet of it that's not going to be included in the entertainment. But as from an angler standpoint, that's where I can understand where some guys can like from Trent Palmer's standpoint is what I'll call out here. Is I think he made a great point. Obviously, from him, it's also there's a business aspect involved in it. In regards to, he doesn't want to halt technology. And I can understand that. I think if we cannot look at it from that angle of we're not trying to halt technology, but from your point, we're making a business decision here, and that's all that this is, I think it's okay. I think that's where we can add to that. But I guess from your perspective, what has been the general reception from your team and from the anglers on this move?
So from the team, we are more steadfast today that we made the right decision. And Baylor, that could change in the morning. That could change in 5 minutes. I will tell you that we have already seen, like, I can tell you that we've already reaped some benefit from sponsors. As I had a phone call today we were not on contract yet, but I had a phone call. A sponsor called me and said, "Hey man, saw what you did, appreciate it. And it's not so much that we care whether you ban or keep forward facing sonar. We appreciate the fact that you guys stood up, you made a stand, you stood behind it, and you're not hiding behind a press release. You're out there talking about it. You're justifying your opinions, and you're being a leader. And that's why we're calling you, and we want to be a partner with you." I'm very excited about that. I know these guys from a while back. I haven't spoken to them in a very long time, but I'm excited about the opportunity to turn the NPFL media machine loose and show these guys what we're capable of, because that's what's really going to make the difference, right? Anglers are going to come and go. Anglers are going to choose to fish. They're going to move on. They're going to go around. But the sponsors that you can have those long-term relationships with, and I'm very happy that we've got some great long-standing relationships with our sponsors. And I think this has potential to be, excuse the term, I'm going to go all eye catcher and say game changer for the NPFL.
Oh no, you said the word.
That's for my buddy Fat Cat, because he loves Fat Cat loves the game changer. So, but no, man, it's very, and it's there's some affirmation in there, right? Like when we set down this path, you don't know if this is going to work or not. Like as we walked through this, I was convinced we were making the right decision. I wasn't convinced it was going to work. I'm still not convinced it's going to work. I can tell you from the indications that I've seen in just, I don't know if it's been 48 hours yet, but everything's kind of blurry, to be honest with you, with everything that's been going on. Like my cell phone would usually keep a charge. It's pretty new. I can run about 2 or 3 days in a charge. I'm charging it twice a day now. Like I get up on a charge. I have to charge it before I go to bed at some point during the day. And that's okay. That's what this is all about. But yeah, man, I think from the team, overwhelmingly, I've had multiple conversations with Mike today. Very excited. The response on social media has been crazy, far exceeded our expectations. And from the community, I think despite the loudest 10% of the people who scream the loudest, I think it's been overwhelmingly positive. I think if you really dig in and look at, I've gotten a ton of responses from friends in the industry like, "Hey man, not sure I agree with the decision, but holy crap, I'm glad somebody made a stand. I'm glad you're being articulate and you're out there talking about what's the whys and the hows." And I think, as always, man, we always say here, sometimes it's not so important what you do, is how you do it. And I think this is just who we are and what we're about. And if you can't do this, you should probably stay on the porch. I mean, really. So that's how I feel about it. But yeah. Who am I?
I definitely respect it, man. Andy, I got 2 things left for Brad here, but you got anything you want to ask?
Yeah, I'm not off the beaten path or anything, but like in the decision making, did you think that it would be a good idea to get ahead of like the other leagues if they were to announce something, just to be like, you know what, we're going to do this first. We're going to be the ones that try it out and see what happens, and maybe make the others follow suit of what we're doing, or just to be completely different, off the wall, a different style trail from everyone else and just set your own path? Like, was that the way you were thinking when you kind of
decision? No, man, that's a great question. I think there was an advantage of being first, right? But I will say I was fearful that in an angst to be first, that we wouldn't do our diligence and be prepared with everything and have our facts and have all the talking points and have our media package ready. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't willing to sacrifice expediting the process. Now, I will tell you that this press release was not originally scheduled to go out on a Monday. There were some decisions made and some strategies put in place based on other factors that pushed us to do it on a Monday on a holiday versus doing it on a Wednesday, or, you know, it's the holiday weekend and all the weird stuff, but it worked out. Like, it worked out really well. Like, I'm really happy with the response. I think we garnered the full attention of everybody in the fishing industry because everybody else was kind of shut down and quiet on the long holiday weekend. I think it caught some people off guard. Like, no one releases anything on a holiday Monday, right? On a 3-day weekend. But in true NPFL fashion, here we are. So yeah, certainly a benefit to being the first to announce it. Now, will that have a long-term effect? Based on what the other guys do, you know, I don't think it really may matter in the long run, Andrew, but certainly the upfront marketing and strategy that went along with the exposure, certainly there was a benefit there.
One of my questions for you guys is, process-wise, is this kind of go in line with live well checks type of deal when you look at the transducers and things, like in regards to policing it, or how's that going to work?
So we've actually got I've got about 6 different iterations of implementation, and we're currently polling anglers. Like, now that the decision's out there, I had my first 2 angler conversations today about, hey man, here's A through F. These are your options of implementation and how we would do it. What do you think is the best for you as far as getting your boat configured to fish an NPFL tournament? They're not going to have to de-rig their boat. We will use some sort of lockout device with a serialized tag that's assigned to that angler, and the anglers are going to install them. I'm not going out there and pulling cables off an angler's boat. They're going to be responsible, just like having operational live wells, having all their safety devices, having an operable kill switch. This piece of equipment and equipment requirement will fall on the angler to do, but it's really pretty simple, man. You pull the plug out, you slap a thing on it, you put the serial tag on it, you push it shut, and it's tamper proof. So if you try to manipulate that in any way, and each one of them has a serial number on it.
It sounds like what the TAA did during that live scope band event, kind of, in a way, right?
Alan Brooks is kind of a genius, if you didn't know that. So yeah.
That's awesome.
It's good to have smart friends, guys.
Yeah, no kidding. I guess the last thing we'll leave you with here is, what's the one thing that excites you most about this change, and the one thing that worries you the most about this change?
Yeah, man, that's a great question, and I can answer that.
Your room, because something just fell off of your thing.
It's all right. It's a helmet. It'll live.
Fighter jet helmet, even better.
Yeah. So the thing that excites me the most is the opportunity that the exposure that this has given the NPFL, and the chance for us to prove ourselves to sponsors, both endemic and non-endemic. And the thing that is going to make or break the NPFL moving forward, whether we have forward-facing sonar or not, is our ability to generate content, disseminate content, and use that content to promote anglers and sponsors and the platform. Like, those things, at the end of the day, that's what we have to do. And I'm most excited that that is absolutely happening right now. In concert with all this madness, like, it's been going on. Great response to the articles I've been writing on the website. It gives you a peek into who the NPFL is, what we're about. And then the angler articles have been phenomenal. We've got a new content kind of piece rolling out. We're going to be releasing 2 to 3 videos a day: entertain, educate, and engage. And those 3 things, and I stole that from Matt Painrack and Mark Jeffries, but it fits very, very well with exactly our strategy for how we're moving forward with that. The thing that worries me the most are the anglers going to come, right? And I would say that's a minor concern with the concept of, man, I don't want you here because we're banning forward-facing sonar. I've had a couple conversations with guys who are that kind of very outspoken, shove it in your face, I hate forward-facing sonar, it's the devil. And I just said, man, I'm not real sure the NPFL is going to be for you. It's only a matter of time, if you're here for any amount of time, that we do something or I do something that you're not happy with. And now I turn into I'm your forward-facing sonar. I'm the reason you're not catching them. You know what I mean? And we have a program here that we run, and we levy expectations. We hold people accountable. I don't care if you're AOY leader or the guy dead last in points. I've talked about an angler's value versus their importance. every angler has a different value to the company, but not one single angler is more or less important, regardless of what the name on the back of your jersey is, what boat, what sponsors, or what place you are in AOY. Bro, that's an ego check for a lot of guys. If you can't check that ego, and if you look at the guys we have in the NPFL right now from other trails and the current anglers that we have, they understand that. And the expectation is that anybody who comes and joins this company and joins our program understands that as well. So that's my biggest concern is maintaining what we've worked really, really hard to build with regard to culture and expectation for performance and conduct, and maintain that as we move forward. That's my number one concern.
Yeah, totally understandable. And I think all of them are, it's valid from where you're coming from. But that's, I guess, to your point, though, this is a time thing. We're just going to see how this all plays out.
My saying, and I'm gonna get t-shirts made, it says, we don't know, but we're going to find out. So we're excited about it, man. It's an opportunity, and you can't look, man, it's been great. We've gotten way more than we deserve on this with regards to marketing and strategy. It's far exceeded our expectations. But man, we're just blue collar guys out running some bass tournaments. So we'd love for people to kind of come out and see it and join us on live. It's going to be great.
Heck yeah, man. Well, Brad, appreciate your time, sir. And again, applaud you guys for the decision making and exactly what you said, taking the stand and sticking by it, not just backing down from some social media comments. So I'm looking forward to watching it because, again, at the end of the day, fishing's fun and any fishing is good fishing. So I'm looking forward to see what you guys do and see any of the new faces and the faces that are still there that are competing next year.
All right, man. Well, listen, don't take it easy on Kyle and Wesley. Like, they deserve all your wrath. So give it to them hard and tell them I said what's up.
Will do, man. Appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Be good. Appreciate it, Andrew. Take care.
Yeah.
There you have it, folks. Mr. Brad Fuller. Appreciate him for taking the time out and coming on here, man. And look, like, for it or against it, man, this has been obviously a dead horse at this point. It's been beaten again and again. But I just think that if you enjoy fishing, you're going to enjoy the heck out of what they're doing, regardless of what's involved. And I think now for the people that, have been speaking out against forward-facing angler or fan, now you don't really have an excuse to do so because now you have a lane where you can go and watch and be entertained, or you have a place you can go and fish. So it's interesting either way.
No, it's going to be exciting is to see what they do with the schedule for next year, right? Like, is it going to be more of like that grimy up in the dirt type lakes that they're going to go to? Are we going to see even more diversity in the schedule for 2025? Because I think they already do a good job at going to different places than other trails. So I'll be excited to see where they end up schedule wise. And are they going to stick some traditional forward facing sonar lakes on the schedule just to throw a loophole for these guys and see if they can still catch them? Like, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll have to bring that up and get Brad back on here once they announce the schedule. But we've been keeping these boys waiting for longer than I'd like to. So let's get them on here. We got the brothers of the elites. Yeah. We got Mr. Kyle Patrick and Mr. Wesley Gore. What's going on, fellas?
What's up, gentlemen?
Oh, man, I'm doing well here in Alabama. I've just been hanging out and having a few cold ones. It was my birthday yesterday, so it's been good,
I knew you would start off with something like that.
Was it actually your birthday yesterday, Wes?
No, it was the 30th, so Friday.
Well, happy late birthday. Yeah.
Does he do that a lot at the house when you guys are traveling? Just do that accent?
Nah, he does it all the time, and sometimes he does it without even knowing he does it.
I do. Sometimes I'll switch, like when I catch a big one on live.
I know.
I'll be like, that's what I'm talking about. Come on now. And then, like, Caroline or like someone in my family will like send me a text like, you realize you sound like you're from the South when and I'm like, no. And then I'll rewatch it and I'm like, dang, that was weird.
Are you just another northerner that wishes you were from the South, Kyle?
No, I mean, yeah, kind of. I like the bass fishing culture there so much that I do when I'm at Wesley's house for like an extended period of time. I'm kind of like, man, I like it here. I could see, spending some time down here. And I already spend like 6 or 7 months out of the year in the South anyway.
Right.
No offense, Wesley, here, real fast, but Kyle, have you developed a kidney stone from drinking too much sweet tea yet?
I hate sweet tea. Ask Wesley. I get
No, he won't drink it. He won't drink
I won't drink it. I won't drink it.
Wow.
All right. Hey, Kyle. Sorry, bro. It's been good having you on the show. All right. Now we got.
Wesley, how are you?
Dude, I mean, it's just too sweet. No,
It's like syrup.
All right. People are gonna chirp me for that. I take it.
We're gonna get shirt for that one, but there's no.
There you go. Just single screen them up and put the bubble. I don't like sweet tea.
Yeah. Oh man, Wesley. Well, I applaud you first and foremost on one, a great season, but two, making it through a year traveling with Kyle.
Hey, I think that is like the number one thing. Better than the season I've had. A full season. We got another one coming up.
Oh, you even decided to go in.
Yeah, I'm dumb enough to do it another time.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. I love it. You
sorry.
guys we joke about it, but like you guys got to be legitimately the stepbrothers of the Elite Series, the Knuckle, the Bash Brothers is what we.
All right, which one of you is Dragon and which one is Nighthawk? Now, like that's the real question here. And who is trying to stab who with a bike?
I think I'm probably Will Ferrell, like a little bit more. Here's why. Hear me out. A little bit more like out. Like I have no problem like being the first to lick dog shit on the playground, but let's follow suit. If anyone's seen the movie,
Yes. The first one willing to eat dog shit. Nice. There you go. How would you describe yourself, Kyle? Give me an elevator pitch. Well, I'm the first one willing to eat dog shit.
hey, I get down and dirty. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid of it.
I love that.
Yeah, I'll pass.
Yeah. Well, boys, we got you on probably was 3 or 4 events. I feel like into the season, like you guys at least got rolling a little bit. And now, rookie season's over. I guess you can't really call you rookies anymore. You're on at least the beginning of your sophomore season, getting ready for it anyway. But I guess looking back, I would love to prod both of you on what was the highest high and the lowest low for the both. And I guess we'll kick it off to you, Wes.
Oh, the lowest low was definitely the Harris chain. Like that, there's no question. Look at him; he's laughing. It was terrible.
Just from a finish standpoint, or is there something that people didn't see?
Yeah, 100% finish standpoint. Everything else, I mean, I had a great year. I mean, as far as at home, everything went smoothly. Equipment wise, everything was perfect. I really never had any problems with that stuff. But just performance and I guess mentally, that was the toughest one for sure. I mean, I wouldn't even call it the finish. I just wasn't there. My headspace was not in the right place. I can tell you that. Like I completely practiced wrong, fished wrong. I just did everything wrong that week.
From like a standpoint, like you're too far ahead of them, behind them, or what do you think that?
Oh no, I literally I've been there so much, and I have so much. I guess our days on the lake. I won't want to call it like history, but I've been there a bunch in the past, and for several different reasons and whatnot. But I guess the biggest thing was like I didn't even practice the stuff I knew was good till the last day of practice, and now I was like, I'm just gonna go run this stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, I literally didn't. I practiced to fish the way I knew I wasn't going to fish. Like I didn't even try to find something that would support what I wanted to do. Like it was crazy.
I'll put it like this: Wesley literally said from the day one of the tournament or day one of practice, he said it's going to be one here, I promise you, and like no questions asked. And then it was John Garrett won the tournament on the waypoint that Wesley said it was going to be one at, and Wesley didn't even go there one time during the whole event. and yeah.
What?
Oh yeah, dude. He was messed up. I was like, dude, I ain't going there. You have at it. You know that deal better than I do. And he did not go.
Never went.
So how long did that one beat you up for?
A while.
I mean, it still bothers me, but I don't let it like just completely just ruin everything. I just try to. I think it's better to go places I don't know anything about. I do better at stuff like that. I just like starting from a clean slate. Knowing too much is a bad thing sometimes. And like, I knew not enough there. Like I didn't know enough to be like super, super dangerous, but I knew enough to like, I know where it happens every time. I know where a lot of the shell places are, a lot of, one bite places. And that was the problem. So during the tournament, I'm going to run all these one bite places and see if I can catch a big bag. And then it went to nothing. Bad.
Well, What was the highest high then?
I mean, you can ask Kyle. I don't get too excited. I mean, there was some emotion towards the end of the year. I mean, probably Champlain going in the day 1, 2, 3. I was pretty pumped about that. I was definitely around them a different class of fish than anybody else. I was on them pretty good. It just weather just kind of.
That was Wesley's biggest, I guess, L of the year. Even though he did a really good finish, Wesley could have easily won that tournament.
Yeah, after
he was really good at throwing a minnow, and he was on the winning fish, guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, I was catching a lot of people were catching high 3s and occasional 4s. There was out of a little section that when I got bit, it was a 4 to 4.5 pounder. And the wind never gave me a break. And then I thought it was going to give us a break the third day, and it was 3 times worse than it had been all week.
So you simply it wasn't fishable, is what you're saying?
I mean, no, not really. I tried everything I possibly could. It was just super hard to present your bait correctly. I mean, they were super deep in the water from the waves. The waves had beat them down even farther in the water column. So they were down in 35 to 50 foot. And they'd already got smart to, I mean, I guess pressure myself. And if somebody else was fishing it, I just didn't see it. And I was having to hold it on their head, and you'd ride up a 4-footer and go down it, and your bait would go up 4 foot, and your bait would go down 4 foot when you're trying to hold it on them. And I'm like, this ain't good.
Hey, all I have to say is I'm sorry and welcome to the North where you're never right.
Yeah, I knew it was bad when I saw Wesley on my grass stretch that I could catch 17 or 18 pounds on. And I was like, oh God, I hope he has him. I was like, you got him? He's like, no. I'm like, oh, bummer. But that has been very helpful all year. All jokes aside, having Wesley and I share everything, but every tournament we end up fishing our own stuff. But then once in a while, Fork's a good example, Wes. I had this stump that had really good ones on it. And one of the days, Wesley caught an 8 there on that stump. And then one of the days at St. Lawrence, I caught a big one on a buoy. So we'll share everything. We'll run our own patterns. And then every once in a while, we're able to save maybe a top 20 or even a check based off what we both find. And maybe we run 1 or 2 deals that Wesley will run 1 or 2 deals maybe that I found, and vice versa. And that's been very helpful. And we're not getting in each other's way during the tournament, as far as our, the meat and potatoes of what we're fishing. We're not in each other's way, but when we need it, a fish or even just a keeper, right? We can get one. So that's been really helpful. That was helpful all year.
That's what it seems like a lot of the elites are now. And obviously you see it over on the BPT as well, but the groups of, I guess what you call them, networks of anglers that you got, that, guys that talk, what next week we're having on G and Garrett and all them boys. And they obviously talk amongst themselves, and you got the Scott Martin crew and things like that. So you got these pairs of people that all help with each other. So I think that's got to be a big key now, because there's probably not too many guys that are riding solo anymore, right?
No,
very few.
Very few. I mean, I can't think of one.
Do you think that's become an integral part of pro tournament fishing? Is at least from trying to survive, I guess, if that makes any sense?
I don't think it's crucial for catching them as much as it's crucial for mental clarity and stability when you're, because being able to call Wes and be like, man, I'm struggling, maybe have him throw a few ideas at me. For me, at least, Wes, I feel like it's just having someone that you can fully trust to explain your day, or even call and just BS on the water and be able to throw a few things here or there. It's not as much oh, I need Wesley's waypoints. Sometimes I do shit. I mean, but it's not as much that as it is dude, it's tough traveling on the road as much as we do, and being away from home and, trying to figure out a giant body of water. So I think all of it, I think the actual waypoint stuff is less important. I've come to realize it's more just having the camaraderie and the one guy you can trust, or 2 guys that you can trust to have just a conversation, right? That's been huge, I think.
A trusted soundboard that that soundboard isn't going to show up on your spot day one.
Yeah, and 75% of it isn't really about necessarily the fishing. It's about just BSing and having
I agree with that. But I mean, if you want to take it to a fishing standpoint, it makes it easier when you have two people doing two totally different things. I mean, you can break down. I mean, usually the way we do it is like first day he does his own thing, I do mine. Second day, same thing, and then the third day, like at Murray, like it's like, all right, dude, we ain't caught shit. Like we got to figure something out. So like we literally go to the same section of the lake and hop points till we get bit, and that's how we end up fishing the tournament.
Hey, that's impressive.
And Wesley forces the other thing is like sometimes I get impatient, and Wesley's really good at being like, no. Like at Murray, he was like, no, look, you're gonna sit on this point with your Raptors down for 45 minutes until they come up schooling, and you're gonna see how big they are. And I'm like, God, okay.
Yeah, that was
the sat there for like 30 minutes, and they came up school and they were all 4-pounders, and I'm like, Wesley, and I just ran those points. So like even just basic things like that, like keeping you in line, it's a huge deal.
Yeah. I mean,
Is that the same point you decided to dive into the water on?
No, but that point
was good.
That point was good. And I found it day one of the event, literally like first hour, I ran some stuff. Then I ran over there. I was like, oh my God, no one's on this thing. They're busting. I actually came off plane. Funny story about this point. I actually came off pad and I turned my key so the engine's off and I'm still on plane, right? Because I saw them busting. So as I'm coming off plane, I stand up on my front deck as the boat's still like, going 25. And I make a long cast and boom, set the hook on a 4-pounder. As my boat's coming down, I'm reeling it in, boat flip, and I'm like, this is about to get stupid. And I power pulled there for like 3 hours, and then I fell in.
Then I fell in. Well, I will say that was my highest high of the season, was watching that half a gallon.
He's a fruit bat.
Oh, man.
I will say, I don't know. Wesley, would you have pulled up on a point with Lee Livesey? Would you have had the cojones to do so? I think.
Vice versa.
What do you mean?
So Lee and I had been going back and forth the whole tournament because I was on that point and then I saw him pull on that point. So I'm like, okay, we chatted on day one, chatted on day two. Day three, I started on that point for like 2 hours and Lee was coming. We were both fit. There were like 2 or 3 hot spots on that point. There was, because it wasn't a point. It was kind of a, what would you call it, Wesley? It was like a thumb. It was like it was
like 2 thumbs though, but it was like y'all sat in the saddle of it.
Right. And so on the right side, they were feeding. On the left side, and in the middle, there was a nice area. Brandon Lester, I actually watched him. I was 10 feet from him, and he.
Who did? I don't think it's that pulling up on somebody like. I guess after the St. Lawrence tournament, it's looked bad, but like that stuff's been going on all year. I mean, you can only do so much with 3 days of practice.
Yeah, right. I guess I'll rephrase. I don't mean pulling up in a negative connotation.
No, I know you didn't. I know
no. I got that.
No. I know you didn't. But actually, like at a certain point, you're on day 3. I saw Lee fishing he was going down the bank because there was some really good. He was kind of like exploring the point a little more. I think he had like 19 or 20 pounds at that point, so he didn't care. And I said, bro, they're schooling out here. You better come out. And that's when he pulled next to me and I ate it into the water. But it's just funny how like this goes to the forward-facing sonar thing a little bit. It's just funny how the public always has a set view and everyone kind of gets in on, oh, that's what happened, when no one really knows ever what actually happens. So like that's just my little spiel because I've been.
Yeah, I think, Lee and you guys played it by the book the right way, very respectable. And Zona and the crew made that very apparent too when we panned to that scene. It's just more of like I was more in a comedic manner of like, Lee's a big dude and you don't know him. He's an intimidating dude. And so how many rigs I feel like would be.
I did bump guardrails with J-Pros like half the time at Wheeler. So, it's pretty equal.
And you got a 7 right in front of him.
How was that experience?
Oh, it's awesome. Jacob's a good dude. We cracked up and had fun. He keeps it entertaining, I promise you. That's for sure. Like, I didn't even feel like I was in the tournament because it ended up being like, it was me and Prosnick for a while. And then Chris Johnson came, and then Jason Williamson came. It was just a whole bunch of us chilling right there for real. We all caught a few bass, setting the hook sporadically. It was all good.
That's one of the nice things, too, about Wesley and I and rooming together is Wes and I both get along with pretty much everyone on the Elite Series. Like, so, I like when Wesley has a buddy that I don't really know that well, and we meet up, there, it's like we connect each other with them, and it's all good vibes whenever, like, both Wesley and I can speak for Wesley. He's very, respectful on the
We
water.
got like 11. We got more than 11 weeks together. I forgot. We got like 9 weeks of tournament fishing and then a bunch of off time together. So I mean, we've been around each other for a lot this year.
Yeah, and it's good. It's nice to know that I'm rooming with a dude that is respected by everyone on the Elite Series, and I think vice versa. That's a big factor of being successful, but also like in the industry, but also honestly feeling like having fun. Like it's nice to know that, other anglers respect Wesley, and I hope myself, because it makes your time on the Elite Series a whole lot better when you know that people get along with you and it's all good, right? Like that's a huge deal, I think. So that's been awesome.
Yeah, well, you guys are doing it the right way. So we'll plot, much respect to you guys for doing that. We see it. I mean, at least as fans and at least having some sort of ear into the industry, I think you both are doing it the right way. So keep doing things the way you're doing it. And Kyle, speaking of that, doing the way dude, you were on like 3 freaking shows today. How are you still awake right now?
Dude, I pushed a lot of things off because I was really enjoying my time in New York, flipping a jig and playing some golf. So I kind of like moved everything, and it all happened to fall on this day. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get it all done, and then I'm gonna head to head to La Crosse for the Mississippi River Open, which I'm pumped about.
I was sitting there and I'm like, Andy mentioned, he's on a lure lab today. And then I saw you're on Bass U, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, we are the last people to ever like pressure anyone into coming on this show. And I'm like, now I feel kind of like a jerk to ask Joe to come on to this thing right now.
No, it's all good. Mercer actually chirped me. He's like, dude, you do too many podcasts. I'm like, bro, I mean, it was in a funny, nice way. Like he wasn't actually being, mean, but like it is, I just like talking with people about fishing and being positive about fishing, especially in times like we're in right now. There's a lot of negativity, so it's just good to have a good time.
Hey, it's a good thing to be getting the invites. That's for dang sure.
Yeah,
thank you. Well, dude, what is your highest high and lowest low?
I think lowest has got to be Wheeler. Wesley saw me after that event. That was ugly. Oh boy. Yeah.
He has a little temper tantrum sometimes. So, but that was definitely the worst one.
Does he let the temper go with the Southern accent too?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a 5-year-old child from the South when his mom didn't get him his Tonka truck or something. Like it's bad. I should video. Like that's what I'm saying. Like y'all seen one thing. Like I've seen a bunch. Like there's a lot of really like highs and lows of Kyle. He's so
secret recordings of Kyle Patrick.
Oh, you'll see it next year. We got a guy doing all the back. Like you'll see it. Yeah, it wasn't that I got upset about the event. It was more that I got upset about my mental game on day 2. Like I was, you know what I mean? Like I looked back when I got off the water and I was so mad that I didn't slow down and like really think through the 4 or 5 hours at the end of the day, because I could have done really well. I think I just got spun out, dude. I mean, it happens, but it was a lack of like mental strength, like mental focus. And that's what pissed me off more than anything. So that was the low. And then I think the high it had to have been Smith. I mean, cause it was right after, and I had that rebound moment and I top 10 and I was like, dude, like that's what I needed. And, it was in Alabama, which Alabama has always been like hit or miss for me. And I beat Wesley. And I got the good room. He beat me in seven. He beat me in 7. Okay, first of all, I finished 16th in AOI. He beat me in 7 out of 9 events. And I think he finished what? 7th, 6th?
No, AOI?
Yeah.
10th.
10th. Okay. And so, yeah, he got the good room 7 of the 9 events in the Airbnb. So, like, he
Sucks to suck, Kyle.
yeah. Dude, that's the thing. Like, I came back to the house, like, completely pumped up after, like, good derbies. And, like, Wesley smokes me by, like, 10 places. I'm like, God dang, he's good.
Hey, if the house is rolling in top 20 AOI, that's a good thing. That's a good problem to be have.
True.
Real quick before we move on, right? How did you do at the Open at Wheeler last year when you qualified for the Elites? Was it like the same deal?
No, I finished 37th, but it was totally different. It was totally a different situation. There were some spawning deals left over. There were some fry garters. The bank was a lot better. I thought, Wes, would you say the bank was a lot better then?
Yeah, 100%. There was a lot more fish up there. Wheeler's the unique, like Tennessee River Lake, though. You can always, I don't want to say compete, but you can do well on the bank. Like you could cut checks at Wheeler fishing the bank. I don't think you can win fishing the bank there.
You think 150 boats less helped?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was my worst finish of the year, Wheeler last year. So.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, I finished 90 something.
But you know what was cool about this year's Wheeler was I was able to relax after the event, and I went out on the boat on Monday after the tournament, and I figured out like what I did wrong. And I'm not that good at graphing offshore, like schools of fish, like, you know, just graphing down a ledge. And like, I just don't have confidence in that. Wesley knows that. And I'm not afraid to admit it. And I figured out what I did wrong there. And it was just it was a speed thing. I wasn't taking the time that I needed. Like I was rushing that process. And so that was a big learning deal. And I hope we go back to one next year so I can figure out, you know, put it in a tournament situation. But I went out Monday and absolutely cracked them. It was it was frustrating, but it was good, you know?
Yeah, I know you put out a video about that.
Yeah.
The day after. So you're talking about you are bad at putting in the time from a ledge standpoint, or what are you getting at there?
I'm bad about, I haven't done it that much. Like I'm bad. Like I don't have the confidence. Like Wesley has the confidence to graph and look at his graphs for 3 days straight in practice and like hardly make a cast and be like, okay, those are bass. Those are big bass on his you know, mega side imaging. Right. Mm-hmm. I am not as confident because I haven't done it as much as him to take 2 days of 3 days of practice or all 3 days and just go down and graph and be confident that come tournament time, I'm going to be able to catch, you know, the fish that I think I need to, you know, to compete. Like it's just a you know, a lot of it's a confidence thing, but also knowing what to look for. I think confidence is the biggest thing I lack when it comes to offshore, like ledge, you know, graphing and finding schools. But also, like, you know, putting in more time is probably a good thing to do as well.
I got you.
Yeah.
So did I hear earlier that Wesley, we're gonna have a camera for you now too for Kyle's channel?
There could be another one. So there's gonna be I think we're gonna get an addition to the house, and yeah, we're gonna do it a little different this year. So
oh boy,
we're all gonna have cameras. It's gonna be a lot more behind the background stuff, not so much tournament. I mean, the same amount of tournament stuff, but more, you know, just what goes on, what it's like. What you get to see the temper tantrums.
Yeah, dude, and we also have some super cool new like AI stuff, and like I've seen like a lot of guys start to do it, which we were talking about, Bailey. But we have some really cool stuff that is going to provide, I think, a ton of value to sponsors, but also to our own personal brands, like, you know, Wesley and the other homie that we have coming, who is not an Elite Series angler yet, but plans on being one.
Keyword yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh hell yeah! Is he one
He's
that we
very good?
Oh man! All right, we won't try to spoil it for you guys.
I also don't want to put it out I don't want to put it out in the universe because if for some reason he doesn't make it, it would be upsetting.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Kyle, you are exactly like me, where I need to change how I'm sitting every single 5 minutes. Yeah.
Hence why I'm
Yes.
not good at graphing for back.
Dude, I feel
Touche.
you.
Wesley, is he a tapper? Like, is he just sitting there tapping everything all the
Oh,
time?
dude, he doesn't ever quit moving. And much less, like, you better be glad you got him sitting still. I'm surprised he's not walking around. Like, he's a pacer, which I pace too when I'm on the phone and stuff. But he like just does it in general, like just for no reason, just walks around.
I do. Hey, I got a comment I want to mention here quick.
Okay.
I'm looking. Someone said, I think we need an Elite Series golf derby one time a year after the season over, 4 teams, and the money goes to charity. 2 things. One, I have something in the works similar to that. But 2, Wesley and I'm going to try to get – I'm not going to call it a podcast because it's not. I'm going to do it's going to be like a section of the YouTube series where we go out and Wesley and I are in a golf cart, and then we have 2 guests from the Elite Series in the golf carts with POV cameras and like cameras pointing out. And then we're going to play 18 and just talk about fishing or whatever's going on. And Wesley, I'm sure, cannot swing a golf club. So it's going to be just raw entertainment the whole time. It's going to be,
Dude, that's awesome.
Kyle,
It's a
can you
cool
swing
idea.
a golf club?
I'm decent at it.
It's Happy Gilmore over here.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, total sidebar for all the dudes out there, Happy Gilmore 2 is coming out. I didn't realize that till the other day, and I'm hyped.
I hope it's good. I really hope it's good. You know
Sequels
what I
are
mean?
so hit or miss. It's either going to be very good or it's going to be a bomb.
It's Adam Sandler, man. I got faith.
Yeah.
Although I heard Travis Kelce's in it, so now I'm a little bit doubting it, but we'll see. Sorry for the derailment there, but dude, that's freaking sick. I love that idea. That's almost like a it's kind of like what they do with the NFL quarterbacks a little bit. Now we just have him fishing.
Yeah.
That's
Just trying to, dude, the goal is to have it's going to be a serious deal, but it's also like we talked about, man. Like, I just think there needs to be some different entertainment. We need some diversity. We need some comedy. We don't need another, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's going to be some like tense moments in our series or whatever, but like, it seems like people resonate really well with different and funny. Like, those are the 2 that I've seen on social media and YouTube, whatever. Different and a comedy aspect goes really well together, and I think people like it a lot.
No, definitely, dude. I mean, to me, I think one thing I look at that from a business sense is that screams non-endemic to me. That screams non-endemic eyes, because there's some things I see out with when you get basketball guys, hockey guys, like Spit and Chicklets is one of my favorite podcasts, and that brings people want to see these stars that aren't like on the ice, on the field, things like that. Talking to them, listen to them talk for an hour. That's a way to bring in non-endemic eyes where people look at 4 professional anglers that are BSing on the golf course. I feel like that's going to be something that might pique somebody's interest that isn't a average tournament angler or somebody that watches Bassmaster live. I think that's really smart on your guys' part. That's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah, it should be cool.
Yeah. Well, we're going to let you guys go here in a little bit, but I think one thing I'd love to get out of both of you is obviously we did the highs and the lows, but what was the biggest learning lesson this year for you guys going into your sophomore season?
Wes?
I don't have a clue.
I'll tell you mine, and then you can go off of it.
Go for it.
I think I learned a lot from watching everything that went on the Elite Series, right? From mostly, 2 things. One, being able to watch when the tournament was over, watching it live and seeing how people went about fishing from a fishing standpoint, but then also learning learning how to behave, learning what, I think how to carry yourself as a professional angler and how to act because we saw a lot of different situations arise where you could see how people reacted to them and carry themselves. And that was a big learning moment for me because, you're able to see it and be like, oh, I would have done that differently. Or, maybe I would have, read the rules or, certain things there's all kinds of actual moments that I was able to not be a part of, but learn a lot from. And we fought a lot with everything, every tournament.
Right. Yeah. I think on that, I think you guys are definitely ready to not be the rookies after. Are you guys going to be, you probably will, after this year, be meeting the new rookies with open arms, I'm sure, after the treatment you guys had this year.
I think it was slightly deserved, though. Really. Am I wrong, Wesley? I think that so in the beginning of the year, in the beginning of the year, at the first one or two events, I went on to BTL and I said, I don't know. Like, I basically have alluded to not being the rookies being treated differently. But when I got to really thinking about it, I think that, you're the new guy on the block. Like, you have to learn how to behave. You have to learn the ins and outs. Like, it's sort of similar to if you join a sports team or a fraternity, like, you need to learn the hard way. So I don't think that it was unwarranted. There was certainly situations where there needed to be some harsh words said to people. And I didn't really think about it like that at the time, but looking back, I think it was good for everybody who had moments where they felt like they weren't being, welcome with open arms.
I got you. I'm picking up what you're putting down, Kyle.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Definitely. Yeah. All right, Wesley, what was your biggest learning lesson?
It's got to go back to probably the Harris chain. I got to think on it for a minute because there was a bunch, but it don't necessarily have anything necessarily to do with that tournament specifically. But you make it to the Elite Series by always gambling. And I fished that tournament conservatively. So you got 9 chances a year to win $100,000. Why do you hold back? And I think that you have 2 days to pour it all out there. And that tournament, I didn't do that. I tried to you save stuff, do things like, I'm not telling you to burn every fish you got, but you have to put your best foot forward every time you put the boat in the water. Otherwise, you're never going to keep up with those guys. So that has to be mine because, like I said, headspace and stuff like that wasn't correct, but you have to pour everything you got into it if you want to compete with those guys because they're going to catch you no matter what. I mean, it wasn't like that was an easy tournament, but that can go to, a St. Lawrence River tournament where everybody's going to catch them. But the challenging thing is, every day you got to catch 20 pounds. So you have to strive to do that. So you can't save anything. You got to catch everything you can catch. That's
got to be one of the more stressful factors of being on the elites is that you can't save anything when your mind's probably telling you when you hit a certain pound mark in your live well that you're like, hey, slow down a little bit. But in the back of your mind, if you got that, chances are somebody else does too.
Oh, 100%. I'm the worst at that. I mean, I'm the worst. Like, because I'm used to grimy stuff. Like, hell, we catch 16 pounds, 17 miles an hour. We're doing pretty good. There were several times this year I had 20-something, and I was like, I'd come in and be in 11th or 12th, and I'm like, I probably should have tried to cull another one.
Yeah.
And I'm just not saying that I did not try, but
right.
I went and tried to learn because I knew I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
So I'd go practice for an hour and a half. Similar stuff. I was trying to cull still, but I was running fresh water.
Yeah.
But that could pay off too. That's the gamble. Like, when do you do that? Because you're practicing new water. You could have found another juice hole.
Oh, no. That's what I was going to say. Wheeler.
Yeah.
Like, I practiced every day at Wheeler, and I learned something new every day that I ended up catching fish on, throughout the event because that one was real grimy. Like, I left Kyle. We were both in, like, the first flight or something at that tournament. Remember, you come into the harbor, and you were like, what do you got? I'm like, 16. Well, then he sees me, and he's like, you sandbagger, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, no, I went and culled. And it was like on something I knew about already, but I hadn't practiced it. Mm. So I run around the corner and culled. And so anyway, stuff like that. It gives you an opportunity to try to find some more stuff. But at the same time, you probably shouldn't take your foot off the gas, especially up north, which I never really did up there. It was just a matter of you got to find the next gear. You got to really catch them up there.
Yeah. But that's the elites in general. You have to find the next gear. Like, that's the biggest difference between the opens and the elites. In the opens, everyone's thinking about, I want to make the elites. So that's consistency and coming in with above average bags every time and saving fish on day one so that I can weigh a decent limit on day two and finish up 33rd. right? Like, and you don't have to catch them as good because there's more pressure.
No, it's not even close. Like I thought could be easier, and it is, like some things with the elites than the opens, but there's also a lot of stuff that's way harder. Like when it comes to tournament day, you have to catch them way better. It's not even close, which a lot of that has to do with less anglers and stuff. So it's easy to replicate stuff, but every day is still a different day. You have to, it's going to change. Things are throughout the tournament. You have to still be adaptive, but I mean, in the opens, you could get by with a 12 to 15 pound bag. How many tournaments did we fish this year that you could get by with 12 to 15 pounds? Hardly none.
Smith
and Harris chain. That's about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like honestly, 13 pounds of Smith was just as hard as a 22 pound bag on.
Oh,
yeah, wherever.
I mean, you go to like the St. John's, like the cut weight, she was 11 pounds. It was like 13 and a half this year.
Yeah.
So if somebody that brings in 12 pounds is like, oh, the past, it was okay. No, it's not. It's not okay.
Yeah.
I would love to see the statistic on the increase of average weights from this year.
I bet it's insane. It has to be better. It cannot. I do. That's my biggest thing is like, I'll be catching 3.5 to 4 pounders, like especially up north. I'm like, they're not doing me any good. They're
Welcome
useless.
to the north. We call forest rats.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like I come back home and went fishing, and like we call it like I couldn't even tell how big a bass was. Like they all look so small.
Yeah. How about after fork?
Like you didn't constantly catch them though. Like you just get tired of catching fish up. You catch a bunch every day up north, and they're like all 4 pounders. Look, not everybody was just reeling in 4 pounders every day. I weighed in some 2s in that tournament, son.
Yeah, you weighted 2s and you had a 10-11 and a 9-4 and an 8-6. Yeah, you weighted 2. Dude, he had 27 pounds on Bass Track with his first 3 fish of the morning. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's just different, knowing you have to catch them. But the thing is, you go like a fork, there's opportunity you catch an 8 to 10 pounder. Like, you're not going to catch one on Champlain that's that big. You're not, or St. Lawrence, possibly. I mean, you did catch a smallmouth, but you can't account for it. But the problem is 25.
It's beginner's luck, all right? It's beginner's luck.
It is.
I mean, it's like, it's 25. You got to be at 25 before you really even make a headway.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, especially after this year. Well, Andy, you got anything for these boys before we let them go?
I guess I know the Bassmaster schedule is not out yet, but what is one venue you hope they add to the schedule this year, and one venue you hope they take away?
The river system I live on. Easy. I hope we come back to the Coosa River.
Me too.
You like the Coosa, Kyle?
No, I like Wesley.
He's like, I want to stay in Wesley's house.
Yeah.
Free house.
Take away the Harris chain. My gosh, I'm tired of going there. I've been there too many times. I mean, it has nothing to do with it. I'm just tired of going there. It's like it gets beat to death. Like there's like 8 national events a year down there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I wouldn't mind not going back there.
Yeah,
I would rather see a totally different schedule, honestly. Like
me too.
Something just off the wall.
Me too. 100%.
All right.
I would like a real grimy schedule. Like let's just go to like 3 tidal fisheries, somewhere where the depth's not 20 foot deep. Let's go do something like that.
Sounds like you're praying for like a Winya Bay and like.
Oh, I'd be fine. I'd be good with that. I promise. I don't mind running a long ways.
Right.
Get your head right.
Yeah. I want Oneida, or any of the lakes in New York that we don't go to, or that the elites don't go to every time. Like take off St. Lawrence, take off Champlain, go to New York. Whatever those lakes that they want to pick, other than Champlain and St. Lawrence, I'm in. And then take off, I don't know.
Sounded like
I don't like Florida, but I don't like Florida, but I want to keep going back so I get better. But, dude, like Wesley said, I don't even have a lake that I don't want on there. I just want a diverse, different schedule.
Yeah, I'm with that, man.
Yeah, and viewers probably do too, realistically.
I think Andy and I could advocate as fans. We'd love to see different.
You could
schedules.
also change the regions of the country to go to different time frames. I mean, that
Yeah.
which they kind of done that this year, which was cool. We went to Texas first versus Florida,
Right.
because that's always expected. Which that was, I think that was a good way to start the year. Obviously, that was fun.
You got red wine in the
Red
chat.
wine.
Already.
Actually, I think I'm seeing red wine. I think we're staying at the same place at the Mississippi River with Adam Rasmussen.
Call him Big Red.
Big Red. Oh, Big Red. I'm not gonna grow a beard. I actually just recently shaved, dude. It bothers me so much when I sleep because it like lies on my. I don't know. I can't do it.
You just got to get the stash back.
Dude, no. I had the stash for one event and I dang finished 73rd.
Oh my gosh.
You gotta change up. You gotta go handlebars, and mutton chops.
Superstitious, all this, that.
Maybe I do. Maybe I
it don't matter.
Handlebar.
You
And
got
down. And what if I did a handlebar like this, and then like it continued down like to right here, like to where
Like the
my
full. What was that biker show? The dude had that. You guys know what I'm talking about?
choppers, American
Yeah.
choppers?
Yeah, the dad
Oh,
had.
yeah.
It. Yeah.
That's what he needs. That would fit him perfectly with his fake Southern twang and everything else. That would be perfect.
Wesley, I feel like if you grew that, you'd be like Wyatt Earp.
Oh man.
That's awesome. Well, boys, appreciate you guys taking time out, hopping on here and recapping the season. Kyle, go get some freaking sleep, dude.
and grow some facial hair.
Yeah.
And Wesley, man, I love the fact that we're gonna get a camera on you more next year. Looking forward to that, big time, boys. But again, appreciate your time, and we'll be talking to you both real soon.
Yeah, thank you, man.
boys.
All right,
Have a
fellas.
good night.
Talk to you later. There you have it, folks. Mr. Wesley Gore and Kyle Patrick.
Fun.
Yeah, always a good time. We got Lenny Speed saying they should go the mutton chops. There you go. That's what we need. We need somebody growing the chops.
Fu Manchu and mutton chops, man. It'd be a look for Kyle.
We should honestly, I wish fishing had like the tradition of like football and hockey, where when it came to championship season, there's no shaving, like full on beards and everything. Or you could go the high school hockey route where they just go crazy freaking haircuts.
Yeah.
That would, I mean, John Cox does that when he wants.
I was about to say, doesn't it have John Cox already for that? Like, you just never know when he's going to show up with dreads or blonde hair.
I feel like that was like one of his daughters just came up, was like, Dad, can I put dreads on? He's like, all right. Okay.
Oh, man.
But yeah, no, they had some really good points throughout that, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that show there with Kyle and Wesley. And the show is not over. We still have a whole nother segment to go here. We got Kevin Nikita from Baits Fishing Reels that's going to join us here. We're going to get to him here in a second. If you guys have not checked out Baits Reels, the first thing we'll mention before we get Kevin on here is they're on Omnia Fishing now. We mentioned that, I believe, last week and the week prior. You guys can go use code Series 10, save some money on them. You get them in your hands because you're going to learn all about them here. But we got a quick message from the folks at Hobie Eyewear, and we'll be back here with Kevin from Baits Fishing Reels.
I have to have the best eyewear.
My eyes are essential to doing my job.
It's the highest quality lens that I've ever used.
Top of the line performance in these glasses.
But they're priced for absolutely everyone. The everyday angler can afford them.
As a touring professional pro, if I can depend on them, I know the weekend angler can as well. Hobie Eyewear, built for the pros.
Price for everyone.
All right, we are back. And folks, for that commercial there, if you guys are looking to save some money on Hobie Eyewear shades, you have the links down below. All year round, 20% off our code gets you to save on Hobie Eyewear shades. But Andy, let's kick off our second segment here of the night. Let's get him in here. Mr. Kevin Nikita. Did I say that right? Is it Nikita or Nakata?
Nakata. Yeah, it's good. You're good, man.
I'm terrible at
What's
last
going on,
name, so I would have botched it immediately. So I'll let you take
I'm
it.
out.
He's like, yep, screw you guys. We're already done. What's going on, man? Appreciate you making time to come on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's awesome to be on here. Spoiler, I definitely I would not be the first one to eat dog turds, and I love sweet tea. So
Okay, at least we got the sweet
Love
tea. We
it.
can get over the dog turds. But yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
I love for folks that might have missed that. The MP3, obviously, if you're tuning into the live stream, this is still one show. But for the MP3 folks, if you don't know the joke, that means you haven't listened to the show with Kyle and Wesley. Definitely need to go back and listen to that one. But man, dude, it was great. We actually made an intro at ICAST, got to meet you, chat a little bit. And dude, I've learned about your reels from several different folks throughout the industry that have gotten to try them, especially on the kayak side. That's where I first saw the baits reels being used, like Brendan over there at That Bass Fishing Dude. There's a few different folks. Garrett Wade's used them as well that I've seen using. And
Jake,
yeah, there's been several folks that have been using them. I get raving reviews, and after talking with you too, and just seeing some of the different things you guys are doing, I'm pumped to get you on here and learn about the brand. But I think first and foremost, man, how did you get your start into fishing? That's one of the things we ask everybody that's brand new to this show is how the heck did you even get into this lifelong passion?
Oh man, I've been fishing literally since probably 2. I have a picture where I was holding up a tilapia in the Alawai Canal in Hawaii, and that was, it was kind of the kickoff. And since then, man, I used to watch Bassmaster Classics. My grandfather used to record them on his DirecTV satellite TV subscription, and he would send it down to me because we couldn't afford the cable TV, so or the even not cable TV, but the satellite TV. So he would get them. So I have old recordings of like KVD when he was literally like cutting his teeth, and I got to watch the pointer being like fished for its first time in Havasu. Just stuff like way back when people probably don't remember that kind of stuff, but I've been around it since I was born pretty much. And then getting up to speed. That's funny, actually. You have something that I actually developed back there. That Hobie check you've got, I actually made that artwork. I used to work for Hobie for 8.5 years. So I worked with AJ on that trail, and we developed it together, and it was Hobie's baby. And then I left Hobie, and I have a pair of Hobie eyewear shades since I worked with Hobie for, like I said, that's probably 8 years ago. I still wear them every day. So that's how kind of I got the jump in the industry. I started guiding when I was like 21, and that got me the job with Hobie. And then come full circle, I'm working for Baits, which I got blessed. I worked hard for it, but I got blessed with the opportunity for sure. And, I really saw what the company was trying to do. And I thought for sure when I saw him with 300 Instagram followers that for sure that was some kind of hoax. I thought it was just some Temu thing or whatever. And I was like, there's no way this is a real thing, or these guys are making CNC'd aluminum reels. Like there's just no way. And I messaged the profile and said, hey, I want to represent your products. Because at the time I was representing products across the country, and I wanted to be able to get this product to put in the store. So I just reached out, and I got a call in 10 minutes and got hooked up with the CEO, Buddy. And then literally just from there, it's been a journey, and got hired in March. So now we're here. So it's been great.
That's
Congrats.
awesome, man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Dude, and that's one thing that I kind of connected after meeting you was the kayak connection. That's why probably some of these guys from the kayak side where Baits kind of at least saw some more anglers using it anyway. And now you see like Chris Saldane using it. At least I've noticed from some of his YouTube content. And it's cool to see the growth. And now you're in Omnia Fishing. It's great. And I'm curious to learn about the Baits origin. What started that? What sets the reels apart from people?
Well, I mean, I come to find out when I first got hired about 7 years ago, actually, the company was already around, but they were making fly gear, apparel, things that weren't necessarily what you see now, which is the end rail, right? I mean, this has really come a long ways. Around 2 years ago, I think I remember 2022, like October, I saw this product. It was the El Jefe, the roast of the goat, and the colored reels of the 150. So about, what is that? 2 years now, we've been making CNC reels. And since that time, the company's had a complete shift in the focus, right? We know now, since we're the first ones to make this CNC'd bar stock aluminum frame for bait casting reels, we are the first ones. But because of that, people have really supported our business, purchased our product at full retail. We did very little marketing. The company does very little. So if people are buying it legitimately, it's because they believe in the product and they want to fish it, and they know what kind of quality is coming behind this, right? So the history is a very short one compared to probably most brands out there, but it's because the product really speaks for itself. It's gone from zero to hero in 2 years, I would say, and it's really gotten a lot of attraction in the last, probably since ICAST last year. Not to say that the company doesn't have a lot of structure built in, like a lot of big businesses, but there is a huge amount of quality control built into this process that I think really leads into people committing to this company, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I guess for someone that's looking at baits reels for the first time, and then go on, they see, especially like the hundo, they go on and they see $375. What sets these reels apart from, say, going to go buy a Daiwa, a Shimano,
Sure,
something along those lines for that price point?
So everyone does talk about the price, but when you think about it, there's no other reels that are made this way, right? So because we're actually introducing the product at its infancy, and it's our first bait casting reel set, right? To make in our whole offering, it's the only thing we make right now is these well, not the only thing, but it's the main thing we focus on is the bait casting side of these reels. And so we're able to set our own prices. No other brand could probably afford to bring in this kind of production and this kind of product at the price that we're entering in. But because it's our first round of product, our first entry product, it makes a lot of sense for us. But there's really one thing that's going to set it apart, and it's because it's made from this. So this is a single piece of billet 6061 T6 aluminum. Now we extrude it into this basically cutaway, so we can get to a whittled down version that starts to look like this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all still made from this bar stock. And then you get down to something like this. If I could put this in your hands, it probably weighs about the same weight as 2/4, a $1/2. You know, it weighs maybe half an ounce, something like that. But you can't flex this frame. So you can squeeze it as hard as you want. You can white knuckle your hands, and you won't be able to flex the frame. And that's really the sauce behind the company and the brand and the product, is making a super highly overbuilt reel to outperform everything that you've had and will for years to come. You'll be able to take this hundo. If you never fished this in saltwater, you would probably have this be around for, I honestly can't even tell you when, but probably for nearly ever. If you were never to fish this in saltwater, probably last you quite a few lifetimes. It'll be around, and people think it's alien technology. But if you fish in saltwater, realistically, like, you won't see pitting or corrosion in one lifetime, maybe two, if you're using it in real life use, right? But if you completely submerge this reel and you leave it there and you fog test this reel or whatever, 5 to 10 years is when you're going to start showing up wear on the frame on the anodized aluminum. 5 to 10 years of saltwater exposure. So it takes a long time for this reel to get wear, and no other frame will do that. The reason why guys have to get their reel serviced a lot is because the reel will flex a lot, and it will cause a lot of wear on bearings, on clutch bearing, or not clutch bearings, but the roller bearings, which are your one-way clutch bearings, your gears, you name it. Everything inside the reel is going to get worn down because it's shifting. And then you're putting a lot of drag on it, right? And it's not maybe meant to do so. But these reels don't do that. So you have a lot more focus on things on where like drag plates, where things are supposed to be sacrificial. And that would be maybe the strain of what that would, or that would probably be the worst thing that could happen, is like drag washers and maybe clutch bearings. But you're not going to get a menagerie of issues. When you put the reel back together, one of our reels, it's going to feel like the day that you bought it, if not better sometimes, right? When you get a reel service that you've owned for a while and it's got a frame that's made of poly this or die cast that, it gets worn down and things shift. And so it doesn't always align, especially the holes where you're putting in, your frames together. Those get loosened up quite a bit. And so you get these really hard, like pinch points where gears pinch, and it just doesn't feel as good, right? It feels rougher. Maybe it feels looser. Who knows, right? But it's not going to feel the same. So our reels do not have that issue because it's made from this really high quality 6061 T6 aluminum. It's CNC 6061 T6 aluminum.
That's pretty freaking sick, man.
Yeah, it's different,
So with that point, then, is this with the talking about the hundo, especially from the saltwater aspect? I think that's one that stands out to a lot of people. Definitely jumps out at me because you go and you take like any other freshwater reel and you go and you put it in saltwater, maybe 2 trips, maybe, and that reel's going to sound like a sandpaper already.
Right.
So with that, are you guys marketing this more towards salt, more towards freshwater? What's the plan there?
So everyone knows that when you put coastal or salty or anything like that in front of the model name, bass guys immediately go the other direction for some reason. Don't know why, but if bass guys were smart, they would, if smarter, I shouldn't say you guys aren't smart. It's smarter.
The pitchforks out now.
You would pick something that would actually be overbuilt for freshwater because it should be indestructible after that, right? Common sense would tell you to want to do that. If saltwater guys are doing well with it, freshwater guys are not going to have an issue, like zero problems, because it's way overbuilt for freshwater. So because our reels are so built for longevity, they're overbuilt. Remember what I said at the beginning. Saltwater guys immediately picked up on this because pretty much every big reel that's out there is machined. Round reels, these bigger stuff that's out there, they're machined and CNC'd. They're not made from die cast typically, and if they are, they're really cheap. Similar with really high end spinning reels, right? They're usually CNC'd or really high grade and aluminum with anodization or something's going on. So because we're the only ones that make a low profile reel that's CNC'd aluminum, there you go. Those guys picked up on us. So I think we were very underserved in the freshwater market. I think the hundo is, a really amazing reel. It's possibly the best entry level reel we have. I know it sounds crazy to say 375 is an entry level reel for you guys, but it will get things done, like for everything that you're doing. We have guys who are abusing this reel, myself included, but who are punching like with a hundo, with a 100 size reel, and they're able to do it. But do we recommend it? Nah, we make a 150 size reel, but you could do it, a lot of crazy things with this reel, and that's what's interesting for the company is like we're trying to figure out, okay, do we guide people down the path? No, we probably shouldn't. We're just gonna tell people you could do it. Should you do it? That's up to you. You do whatever you want. But if you come back to us and you're going to be calling me and talking to me about warranty, hey man, you ran through bearings. That's not really on us. You went after something that was really big for this reel, So, which we do have an amazing warranty, by the way. But bearings and gears and not gears, but bearings mainly and drag washers, like they're going to be going, you're going to have to replace those at some point. There's no reel on the market will ever be able to make sure that those sacrificial parts aren't sacrificial. They need to exist and be sacrificial for a reason, But I would say in freshwater, you don't have that issue. Like it's not about that. It's corrosion really doesn't occur too much in freshwater. It'd be a very rare instance.
Yeah. So obviously Hundo being one of the newest reel of the lineup, but what's the flagship for you guys for baits?
Well, actually, I think the Hundo is a flagship. I mean, it's come a long way. Originally, I'll pull a boat really quick.
That was pretty impressive, that skeleton there, Andy.
So, this is the old stuff, by the way. We make fly reels still, but that's CNC. That's how the company cut its teeth and figured out there was a hole in the market. But
right.
This is the goat. This is actually my modified goat. I got a couple of different modifications, but this is what originally came out alongside with the salty, and this is the saltwater version. Is it inverted? Am I tripping out right now? The stream.
I think so.
Yeah. So right is left and left is right.
So yeah, these two reels existed at the same time, and they still do, and they're very good quality reels. But one of the things that we really pushed the needle on was actually mounting the reel seat. God, I can't get this yet. Reel seat. If you see, there's two holes right here with the hex head or hex heads, Torx heads. Yeah, we usually Torx on everything. We did that, and then we did this with the Hundo. When you see that,
so it's a fully integrated reel seat instead of having
CNC'd
to cast it
into the frame. It's CNC'd. Yeah, and it's not cast. You can't say that.
That's what I mean. Milled. It's milled, right?
It's milled.
Milled. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy. This reel really set the bar very high. We have a lot of people that come by iCast from competitive brands who try to steal this IP all the time. So it's impressive what bar has been set with this reel. A lot of people try to figure it out. It's very complicated. And I'm impressed every day I get to hold it. It's like the thought behind that, to be able to have the money to do that, it takes a lot to do, and it's very risk heavy. So a lot of respect to the person that I answer to, and he definitely put a lot of effort behind it and energy to develop this reel in it. And I think there's just more coming. Like I sit on a meeting. We have a meeting that we meet up with the engineer and talk about stuff. And some of the stuff that's going to come out is really going to shock people next year for sure. It's really going to be awesome.
Heck yeah. And with that, I don't know if you're able to speak to it or not, but Devin Willis here in the comments is asking for us fairy wand wielding New Yorkers, do you have a spinning reel?
Yeah, it's going to come. It'll be here. It will be here very soon. So
there you go.
I would just be watching and obviously follow our Instagram, batesfishing.com. Batesfishing is our brand name, and then batesfishingco.com is our website. You can find our reels in Omnia. They are available now. We just talked about basically getting them in, and we actually had some inventory, which was a blessing because normally that's not a case, but we did have some for you guys. And yeah, it's been great. And some of the stuff next year is going to blow people away for sure.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, it's the social media is linked down below for you guys. So you can quick link over there, as well as I linked straight to Omnia for the baits reels if you guys are looking to get one. And like I reminded you guys, we always have the Omnia code. So if you're looking to knock 10% off too, save some more money, even more incentive to go grab one of these things and try them out. You guys can do that too. I'm curious about the handles on the Hundo too. What was the thought process on that? And actually, what is that composition anyway?
This is gum rubber. So if you wear Vans, this is the same material as the bottom of your shoe.
So is that to create like a non-slip surface? Like if it's raining, etc., and you're fighting a fish, your hand doesn't slide off the reel handle?
Yep, exactly. So the material is really tacky. It's pretty soft. It's not super duper soft where it's going to like rub against something and start fraying or getting like a roughness to it. We like guys that are buying this and going to the tackle shops, like do not put too much pressure on the knobs with that rubberized spinning motor that they have for line winding. because it will tear up the handles pretty good. So like there's things about this material that this never existed before that with this company set the bar with this, but there's definitely I would say it takes a little bit of getting used to because it's so tacky. And it's so grippy, right? And if you're fishing a normal reel out there on the market and you're turning the handles, sometimes like you kind of slip, right? It's kind of weird how it slips off every now and then just from getting wet, or like even just like when you're reeling, like jerk baiting, like all of a sudden your hand just kind of slips away from it every now and then. But this, it feels like your hand is stuck to it. It's very odd how you want to just constantly hold it. So it's like a blessing and a curse because sometimes you don't want to be pushing so hard on this to be able to like just work the reel normally. But because you're actually working it so hard, it makes you get a different level of control that you're not used to. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they aren't used to the sensitivity of the frame itself. Like if the frame is with braid or with even fluoro, it transmits so much energy from the rod that people don't expect it. It's such a dense material. So it's so solid too. There's no shaking in this reel. So like when you're working something, you're going to feel like the reel transmitting that into your hand when you're palming the reel. So it is different. It's a different feel. It's a different sensation, but yeah.
I definitely did. To your point, though, sorry to interrupt you on that.
Please do.
I paired it up with these are already great rods, but I was throwing it on a Fenwick Elite, which they have a whole new story of sensitivity and everything. But I had that on there, and I noticed that. So my first time throwing that was dragging a big worm, and just between dragging on hard spots and shell and stuff, and then actually getting the bites, like. You definitely feel that through the hand with the reel, and that was actually something that was pretty impressive.
You answered my first question there, Kevin, but my second one, is that because of the reel seat is all milled into the reel too, that it transmits that much more energy than just hexing on the two-piece construction on like the first ones? So is sensitivity increased because it's all encompassed in one part now?
No, that won't be affected. So the importance of that is it's just taking technologically speaking, it's taking the company to another level. That was my point with that. The transmitting of it will not actually be different whether you get the 150 with the bolted on bottom reel seat or the 100, because the two pieces, when you actually have the piece that's supposed to slide in through the rail of that goat, there is no space. Like there's no gap in here in the reel seat.
Got it.
So it's not going to be like shaking. It's literally stuck to it. It's perfectly milled to be exactly the same dimension as that rail that's in there. And then it's seated with the Torx head. So it's not like an inferior. In a sense, it's an older, historically. It's a level up when you go to the hundo as far as technologically speaking and getting it done, getting the actual manufacturing part of that reel done. And then on top of that, you go down the size in a reel, and then you really stepped it up, right? So like to go down is harder than to go up in sizes of reels. So I'm going off a little tangent, by the way, but essentially my point about the hundo kind of being the flagship of the company now is that it's so important to the history in the longevity in our company, right? When you see it now and when you see it 5 years from now, you're going to see, wow, that's where they started right there. I believe that's what you're going to see for sure. They start with the hundo.
Heck yeah. Now, for obviously a lot of the show is bass guys, freshwater anglers. What other reels in your guys' lineup should they be looking at?
I mentioned the hundo and the goat. We just came out with the Goat Swim. So this guy is a deep spooled. We call it a 200 size. It is the same frame size as a 150 with a deep spool. And then the gearbox has a brass gear inside. And it has this custom handle here with rubberized texture knobs, and it's a beast. It definitely these ones, we say 18 pounds of drag. It's more than that, but we have to cater to people who shouldn't maybe be using more than 18. Now that we've gotten smart and we said honest opinions about our drag pressures and people took us seriously, so now we're telling people, hey, try actually fishing it where it's supposed to be and using our drags, which in this model are keyed, by the way, and I can potentially show you what that means. Yeah, I can actually. But use the key drag for what it was meant to be used for, and that's actually using the drag instead of just a winch, right? So that is one of our models for freshwater. Well, all of them really, but some people, when you put salty in front, like I said, maybe they won't pick up on it as much.
Right.
This is the LTS, and inside is it's light tackle systems, right? This right here is a BFS style spool, and it's super duper lightweight. And the reason why you might want this kind of reel is for throwing super lightweight jigs or whatever, right? Anything that's under a quarter of an ounce, that's a challenge normally for people, you would comfortably be able to use this reel.
So essentially BFS for those that are tuning in.
Yeah, it is a BFS style of reel. The one thing I'll tell you is it's got more balls than a normal or BFS reel. It's got more drag. So you can actually hang a bass and have a chance, right? The one thing you're going to lose is line capacity with larger lines. So you're going to drop down to 10 to 8 pound test braid potentially. So you can actually make those casts. If you were using a quarter ounce anything, I would say you're probably going to get upwards of a 60-yard cast, to be very fair with you. So it does make a huge difference to have that spool. And then you have our round reel. This is the OG. We started making this round reel last year. It's awesome. It's got this is actually my custom. I took a couple of hundo parts and then color swap them so you get a black on black OG. And then that handle there, but that's the round reel. And then I went, I already talked about the goat, which is this guy, and then the hundo here. So between the 5 of those really is our freshwater, non-marketed saltwater reels. Then we have the salty hundo, and we have the salty 150, and this is the salty, and that's the 150, and then the salty hundo is behind me over here. But
yeah,
the hundo and the goat, more than enough to do everything you want to do. I would say the hundo is really our best reel for everything. It is an everything reel. When you go to flipping and pitching, punching, you may want to use the goat, or even like heavy worms, Carolina rigs, things that require a lot more drag, a lot more torque, a lot more things that require you actually have a beefy reel. That's when it comes into play. Same with the goat swim. Then you get to the OG and the hundo LTS, and you're kind of playing with a similar all around jigs to normal fishing to finesse, all sorts of those kind of techniques. But normal fishing, I would say everyone's going to be wanting a hundo.
Okay, awesome. Well, Mr. Lure Lab, what you got in store? What questions do you have for Kevin?
Oh man, it's hard to ask him because I feel like he answered most of them that I had in my mind turning about the way the mechanics of the reel works. I guess no, I don't even want to ask that one because that would be going down the line too far because I like really small reels. I was gonna ask you if you had like a 70 size reel coming eventually.
Have you ever seen a hundo in person?
I have. I fished Bailey's for a second.
Okay. I mean, a 70 is probably the same size. If you look at it, it's probably about the same size as an actual 70. But I would tell you that there is no doubt in my mind that a 70 could happen. Are we going to make it before a bigger reel? Probably not. So, yeah, we need to get into the big reel game.
Like the 300 size and start attacking like saltwater, etc. Those size reels.
Yeah, I mean, saltwater for us is we've definitely succeeded there, and a lot of people support us there, and we want to make sure that people do understand that we are going to make sure those guys are happy with what we're providing for them, because they have been with us since day one. But I'll tell you, the market's huge with bass, and we're not going to make some seriously amazing targeted reels for freshwater. We already did this year, you know? So in the future, when we start releasing things, if we can get people to kind of realize that we do not just make a bad to the bone saltwater reel, but we actually make probably the best freshwater reel on the market, I think that's where we're kind of trying to get there. We're trying to convey to people the value behind this manufacturing process, but people just don't understand why that's important in freshwater yet until they fish it, and that's where it makes a difference, you know.
Yeah, fair enough.
70 is possible though. I'm sure it could come down the line.
Now I do have another question. Why is almost every reel, I think you have some 6:3 to 1 gear ratios, but why are they all mostly 7 to 1s?
We did make 6.3s and 8s. The reason why we stopped is because our 6.3s and 8s were not making QC, and we make our own gears. So we stopped production because it wasn't working out. And then we literally can't catch up with our demand now with 7.1s. So the machine has not been able to refocus back in on making those gears. We're training a new one. It'll happen. We're going to reintroduce those gear ratios, or not reintroduce, but definitely supply our vendors who are asking for them when it comes. But right now, we hope people are patient enough to understand that we are just doing everything we can to make sure we produce as many reels as possible right now. That is our really genuinely our mission statement right now, is to make as much as we can.
But I mean, if we're being perfectly honest, right, you can do everything with the 7-1 gear ratio reel. Like, you can fish topwater with it, you can frog with it, you can punch with it, and you can deep crank with it. It's got a tremendous amount of power because it is a slower ratio, so you have more torque and more leniency on those fish, but you're not overpowering baits as well. I like 7 to 1 reels. I was just curious. So
yeah, I love 7.1s. There is a time, I think, for 8s and also 6.3s. I even like a 5 on some of the things I used to fish for really specific reasons. But right now, I mean, we are going to get back to that at some point. It's just everything we can do to make sure people have reels to be able to purchase. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, though. A 7 pretty much covers everything.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. Well, dude, we covered a lot about the reels, but before we let you go here, we got to talk a little bit about fishing, man.
Oh, yeah.
I guess when you're not deep into the baits business, what species are you chasing? What style of fishing are you pursuing? I'd love to hear all of that, man.
So I moved from California to Florida last year. And I actually, when I was working with Hobie, found a lot of fisheries I loved. Florida wasn't necessarily my most experienced fishery, but when I got here, it is spectacular for every reason you can imagine, from redfish to bass to tarpon to offshore red snapper. I mean, this place is nuts. And you can go out for 4 hours out here and have an absolute bang up day. Like, you'll catch 6 fish the way you want. I like sight fishing. I like specifically sight fishing. I love to see fish eat my lure, and I like to see them do it as close as possible to me. And one of the things that I found here when in Jacksonville, Florida, is they belly crawl. And if you don't know what that is, the fish literally pop up on the mud and they move across the mud with their backs out of the water so you can see them. And these aren't small fish. They're like above 25 inches, you know? So it is so awesome to see these things smoke a lure. You got to put it right on their nose because the water is super dirty and they almost can see you because their eyes are out of the water. But if you can put that lure about this far in front of its nose and twitch it once, it's going to smoke it. And I love watching them do that, man. I could do it all day. I have done it on many occasions. I snuck out in the mornings before work. And then my second love is buzzbait fishing for bass. Literally, I could throw that lure all day. I could give a crap what people say about fishing that lure midday. I've caught giants in the middle of the day on a buzzbait, and I love it. Man, that I in the back in the day when I watched or read actually the Bassmaster magazines when I was subscribed, Gary Klein had a day on the lake with him, and he threw a buzzbait in February and absolutely crushed it and caught like 2 8-pound fish. It was an awesome article. And I learned that if you could just spend time doing it, it will prove out itself. It's such an amazing lure, and it's so fun to fish to see him eat it. So 2 things I do on my off time that I do a lot of, but I do a lot of fishing. I do tuna fishing, I do bass, do redfish, whatever. So
Heck yeah, man.
Love it.
I like the diversity, especially from the inshore side.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously you get a little twist of using some of the baits, but dude, red fishing and snook fishing I found is essentially kind of just bass fishing, but for
on
enraged, steroid packing, like saltwater fish like that. When I knew that I could have a love for redfish and snook was when I brought my freshwater frog rod down to Florida with my parents and caught redfish skipping mangroves with a legit freshwater popping frog.
Yep.
That changed me. So there's always an excitement when I go visit my grandparents and parents down there from that moment specifically.
Speaking to a bass crowd about that specific species, I feel like if you ever tried it once and you were in a place where you could do it frequently, you may jump ship pretty quick. It is that amazing of a fish. It's different, but similar in so many ways. So, but I also love throwing big swim baits. Like I grew up in California doing big swim bait fishing for majority of my late teens into college, and had some absolutely stupid days on Diamond Valley, and all by myself on a Wednesday, like just weird times, weird days, just spending a lot of time having like 40 fish days on big baits and learning a lot. But there's something to be said about like only going after one fish. If you can only get that, I prefer to catch only one big one because I can remember that fish. I don't like catching a million 1 to 2 4-pound fish. I'd rather catch one that you're like, that one will reside in my memory banks forever, you know?
Yeah, I can respect that. That's definitely the swim bait mentality you gotta have. So it's good to have that instilled there when you go out, obviously going throwing those giant baits, because there's some people that go out there expecting amazing results that get off that swim bait train pretty quick because of they don't have the mental dexterity, if you will.
Yeah, it makes you a good angler though, because you learn about fish. You learn about their movements. They don't eat all day. You know, they're eating in a certain time of day. They're eating with wind. They're eating without wind. They're eating this specific forage, or they're looking at this specific, structure. So people spend a lot of time, and nowadays you're doing it on a screen, right, where you're learning about fish. But if you were to just not throw a lure or not catch a fish and focus on catching the fish and what they're doing, you would catch more fish because of what you're learning versus actually focusing on trying to catch the fish. So it's kind of like a catch-22.
Yeah, totally get it, man. Heck yeah. Well, Andy, you got anything left for Kevin here before we hit him with our last question?
Have you caught a tarpon on topwater yet?
Topwater, no, and I've never caught one. And I've hooked many, and I can't get them to meet my hand is a whole nother thing.
I think that's like my dream scenario. It used to be catching a tarpon on a fly rod, but now like I've seen some caught down around the Gulf Coast on topwater, and I'm like, that's my next thing I want to do is catch like a 60 to 80 pound tarpon on a big walking bait. Like that just sounds like fun.
Yeah. No, it would be insane because when they eat it, it's like the whole anything in front of that mouth just turned into a black hole kind of situation. It's crazy.
Yep. Was it shoot?
I know a snook bite can be like that too when you get some of the bigger ones back in the trees and stuff.
Jacks can be like that too. Big jacks, big jack crevalles. But I caught my first tarpon on artificial. I've caught some tarpon obviously on mullet and stuff like that and pilchards or whatever, but first one on topwater actually was the first artificial. We weren't even fishing for tarpon.
That's crazy.
My dad's got this little lagoon near his house 5 minutes down the road that's spoiled, dude. And it's just loaded
Poor
with
him.
freaking tarpon and redfish and everything. And he goes there all the freaking time. Of course, I have to hear about it when I'm working. He texts me.
Yeah, who's worse, me or your dad sending you?
Both of
pictures
you guys
it?
suck. I hate you both.
He
But
gets so salty. It's just like, okay, cool.
yeah, because I'm sitting there, my fourth meeting of the day, and Kevin, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir right now, and you got people texting you about fish and crap and like a bunch of jerks. But either way, I was sitting there. It was my brother, my dad, and I. We're out in our kayaks, and I guess I counted as top water, but I was throwing a swim bait, and I'm essentially using it like almost kind of like a buzz bait, literally just having the paddle tail on top of the surface, and we're not paying any attention. And there was some tarpon rolling and stuff like that. But we were trying to catch snook and redfish, and I'm talking to my brother, and of course, I told my wife, and she quoted this when I told her when I caught it. I was looking at my GoPro when we were leaving to hop on the flight down there, and I'm like, I don't even know if we're gonna fish, and so I left my GoPro there. And of course, the first thing that happens, my dad goes, you want to go fishing as soon as we get there? I'm like, okay, I didn't even think anything of it. So no GoPro, unfortunately. I got a picture at least. But we're sitting there, I'm talking to my brother, and I'm just burning this swim bait on top of the water. And all we both hear is just, yeah. Just look up, and all I see is a like 40-inch tarpon staring me in the face, eye level. I'm standing on the kayak, and it's like above my head. And I'm like, what is happening? Just jumps and almost jumps over his kayak. Like it was madness. But yeah,
sign me up.
If you haven't done it, it's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes a bass will drive you crazy like that, like on a sick frog bite, a buzzbait bite for sure, a big swim bait bite. But man, when you see that thing go aerial, like a fish that is 4 feet long, just go stupid. Just be pissed. Like it's not that it's figuring out what's in its mouth. It's like it's scared for its life, you know? It's trying to escape whatever it just hit or hit it, stuck it. So it's primal, man. It's something weird comes out in you when you go after fish like that, and it takes you at another place. And it's like the ultimate meditation where you're just constantly thinking about the rush. You're not thinking about anything else but that moment that's going to happen potentially. And you remember what it's like the first time. You're like, dude, I just want it one more time. I just want it one more time. Maybe it's not a meditation. Maybe you become not a crackhead, but like an addict, you know? So.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, catching that tarpon took me to a place, and that place was Shark Week. I was just, it's all I could think about when I was trying to land that tarpon was all I see is these videos on social media of guys just having bull sharks rush them when they catch tarpon. And I'm like, I need to get this thing gone fast.
It's wild to watch too. So here we have a lot of sharks, and they're offshore. They're not bulls. I think they're sandbars. We've hooked them several times and landed them, but they're like 10 feet sometimes. If you just, not to discourage people from swimming in Florida, but I don't swim in Florida and I live here. If you only just knew what was swimming down there, you wouldn't go to one of these nice beaches and put even a toe in the water.
Thank you. I tell my wife all the time when we go down there, I was like, I'm not swimming. She calls me chicken. I'm like, I'm not getting eaten today.
Yeah. Nope. I'm good. Especially like some places where there's a lot of dirty water and you can't see your feet. Like it's sketchy, to just go blind basically. Jesus, take the wheel and sharks don't eat my feet kind of situation, So.
Dude, it's when I see those people that are like full on up to their chest and they have the stringer next to them.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, you're just asking for it. Like I don't know.
They rip the gills to bleed them out. It's like, oh my gosh.
Those guys are fishing hundos, by the way. Those mentally unstable people. That's why we sell a lot of saltwater reels, because we're slightly mentally unstable and we vibe with those people for sure.
Love it.
Is that part of you guys' ad campaign? Is if you're mentally unstable, well, we got the fish reel for you.
You need to make spinning reels and sell them to every Great Lakes smallmouth fisherman because they are mentally unstable fellows as well. I think I scare some of my guide clients because when it gets rough, I just start laughing.
Oh, you're talking about like rough water. That's why you guys are going. Okay, I understand.
Like 4-foot waves, spot locked, waves crashing over the boat all day, and I laugh.
I think my only time I fished the Great Lakes was St. Clair. And does that count as Great Lakes?
Yeah, technically, it's like in between two.
Okay. And it was flat, calm, and beautiful for 3 days straight. And it was it was during leading up to BOS, so I got to fish it for a couple of days, just having fun. Man, that place is so awesome. But that's my only experience. So when you told me that there's crazy people around the Great Lakes, I'm kind of like, I don't know.
I mean, all you have to do is go look at the recent Bassmaster highlights of Corey Johnston on Lake Ontario, and he had a rough time.
Yeah, boxing 5-pounders and throwing up over the side because you're seasick.
In 4 to 8 foot waves because you just don't know each size of the wave the entire time. Yeah, that's my life.
It's remarkable they can get a bass to bite in that, let alone throw something in front of them to be able to get
bite better.
Yeah?
A smallmouth that they can see it, they will chase your bait hundreds of feet. They will come from hundreds of feet away to bite. Like, they're very tribal, very top-notch predators. Like, they're apex predators in their own world. Like, they're nuts. They're, the Will Ferrell, like, and I think it's the other guys. He's like, I will put kelp on and I will hunt you down. We're tuna fish. Like, that's a smallmouth bass in the fish. Like, tuna fish will beat a lion any day in a gunfight on shore.
Oh yeah, I remember that reference. Yes.
Yeah. Like, when they're ready to eat, they will eat anything.
What movie was that from?
The Other Guys.
Is it The Other Guys? Okay,
yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Trying to figure out where you're going with that reference, and I'm like, oh yes, I remember that part.
Yes, I do that from time to time. I'll just get on a tangent.
I love it.
That's what this show's built upon. That's for damn sure. Well, dude, Kevin, seriously, thank you so much for taking the time out, coming on here, educating the folks. And man, we started the show out, being that's your first time on the show, we do have a closing question we'd like to ask everybody. And that is, if you could sit down and have a drink, have a steak with 3 different individuals, they don't have to be the fishing industry. They could be alive 1,000 years ago, alive today. It doesn't matter. Could be any 3 individuals. Who would you invite to sit down, have a drink, have a steak, and pick their brain?
Wow.
Oh yeah.
It's okay. Well, I know my first 2. I would love to see Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump together. Guaranteed that would be badass.
I love that.
I think I would throw a wild card in there just to see what would happen.
I like the way you think.
Not to make it entertaining, not to. So I actually would throw Bill Clinton in just to hear the shit talking. Excuse my French.
You're good.
I can't say that. Sorry.
No, you're good.
No.
I would just love to be there to hear between Ronald Reagan and Trump what's going on between there. I'm not. Obviously, you know who I'm sitting at the table, so you know how I feel. But I'm just saying, for entertainment's sake, if I'm having a drink, I'd want to have all 3 of those guys around the corner. Now, if like I said, if I didn't choose Bill Clinton, I would choose someone else. I would actually have like Teddy Roosevelt there. I think he would be pretty interesting to have in that table too. So, and
powerhouse.
I'm partial to presidents because they're very. You have to be very prepared mentally to be able to handle that and respected in yourself too. You have to respect yourself enough to be able to do that job, and or maybe not. Who knows nowadays, to be honest. But anyways, there is something to those 3 guys. I think that not Clinton, but there are 3 guys that I think would be very interesting to hear about. So. I think Teddy would be really interesting to hear from a fishing point of view, right? An outdoorsman.
Yeah. If he can see the conservation efforts and what's going well, what's going bad now. Yeah.
So much history. If any person could just go back in history just to watch a person go to work, he's the person you'd watch, Just so much manly stuff happened under his guidance. So many things were built, so many projects were accomplished, so much work. Traveling with your Navy around the Magellan, doing crazy stuff, weird stuff that people would not have the balls to do nowadays, right? He did it. Yeah. And I don't know. Anyways,
I'm with it.
I would love to have a drink with those 3 people, maybe one day in heaven. So we'll see.
There you go. Well, I'll love to add some comedic value to that and have Dave Chappelle and Shane Gillis just direct the conversation.
Like moderate it. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be incredible.
Can I do a fishing one really quick?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Orlando Wilson, Mark Sozin, and Bill Dance.
I don't know the first 2, but obviously everybody knows Bill Dance.
Gotta do your research, man. Great legends in the industry. Two saltwater. Well, Orlando Wilson was kind of fresh and salt, but Mark Sozin was salt specific, and then Bill Dance, OG. You already know that. But
yeah,
to have those 3 guys, like, they all took their fishing or their fishing careers to television, possibly took it too seriously, and I'd love to see those guys just have at it and talk. And Orlando Wilson, you can barely account. He has a really Southern accent. It's awesome. Anyways, so that's my fishing.
Are you making them all go catfishing? That's the question.
No, that's boring, man.
But like Bill Dance will fall asleep like he did in the bloopers and all of his catfish episodes.
No, we're gonna get a trolling motor that's purposely botched on a John boat, so that when he twists it, it goes up in his face. Like, we're doing stuff that's just not.
Straight from his blooper reel.
That's perfect. Straight from his blooper reels. I just want to I just want to be there in that same moment.
There you go.
So
love it. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for the time, man. Appreciate you coming on. Yeah, great to get you on here, learn more about you, learn more about baits, reels, and man, just appreciate it. And hopefully the folks will head over to Omnia and scoop some up.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, guys. Thank you for everything. And hopefully, if you guys ever have another slot open, we can get the big guy on here and he can talk to you some more.
Heck yeah.
Not me.
Sounds like a lure lab in the making.
All right.
Yeah, dude. Appreciate it, Kevin, man. We'll be talking to you soon.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Have a good night.
Take care. There you have it, folks. Kevin Nakada, as he corrected me from earlier, from Baits Fish and Reels, got on here and was one that I'd met, and I was very curious about the brand and showed Andy a little bit about them, as we are with every single company. We're obviously, of course, Andy, working with Alpha Angler, but I think both of us can agree we're just very curious, regardless of brands. We're not any brand loyalists or anything like that at the moment. Just really, we find a lot of curiosity in innovation and real innovation in regards to people utilizing something different against the grain, like they're doing at base. So if we're utilizing science to be able to create stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, like when we're talking about Maxent, Andy and I might have the biggest population of Maxent in the state in our garages.
I counted how many bags of Maxent I have in my boat earlier. I have 82 bags of Maxent in my boat right now. 4 different colors.
That's just in your boat.
That's just in my boat.
Yeah.
And one of them is a JDM only color, which is unreal at certain times of the day. So
you're letting out some juice now, pal.
Happens.
But yeah,
either clients get the good stuff.
We like to see the trends happen. I mean, from just fishing itself that we cover on Serious Angler, but also the bait trends and stuff like that we cover over on Lure Lab that Andy does an incredible job of. And if you live under a rock right now and you have not seen our Lure Lab podcast that we do on the Serious Angler Network, it's every Saturday on its own YouTube and MP3. It's literally 15, 20 minutes, heavy hitter on a specific technique, bait, etc. Man, it's just cool to keep up with what things are going on. And obviously right now we're in a interesting time when it comes to technology innovation, whether it's being allowed, not allowed, advanced. We're been hearing rumors of new things coming on the forefront of forward facing. But it's fun when you can look back, erase the negativity, and just see where our sport's been, where it's gone. And we talked about it with the week that Rick Clunn retired and Zona retired, as we are in a crazy time in our sport right now, where I think we're in the biggest time, I feel like, of change right now in regards to turning over the page. Obviously there's always been change throughout the generations of bass fishing, but like the big four is a lot older sport wise than the sport of professional bass fishing. So we're seeing that first tide turn in regards to the people that are in the sport to the technology. We're hitting that rapid advancement period that some of the big four hit a while ago.
Yeah.
As the saying goes in the fishing industry, we're always 10 years behind.
Sometimes 20.
Sometimes 20. Yeah, that's for dang sure. So we're in that moment right now. And it's cool to see the different things that happen. And like I mentioned on the breaking news segment to talk about NPFL not allowing forward facing next year, before you people jump to the pitchforks, whether you're for or against any sort of either technological advancement, whatever it may be, it doesn't even have to be, we don't have to be talking about forward facing or even fishing in general. Take a moment and actually just look at the facts of things, see what's actually factual, what is opinion, and then look at both sides of each. And then value, formulate your own opinion stance. What will you? That is what I urge people, because there's been a whole lot of just people just going at people that have never met each other before will go at it on social media over something that does not impact them. And it just drives me crazy because life is so short, and to spend it being that unnecessarily negative for no reason makes no sense to me. But sorry to be long-winded there. Either way, appreciate all of our guests tonight. Mr. Brad Fuller from the NPFL, Kyle Patrick, Wesley Gore from the Elite Series, and of course, Kevin Nakata from Bates. So appreciate all of them, gents for coming on here. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to tonight's show. You guys are awesome. And the links down to Kyle and Wesley's favorite baits for the month of September is down below as well. And again, if you missed it in part 1, 30% off of fishing rods right now at Omnia Fishing.
Some good ones too.
30%. I don't know if I'm stressing that loud enough. But either way, go check them out. Links are down below. Andy, you got anything else for the people?
I'd say too, if you haven't been on Omnia in the last week or so, they have 20% off the rest of the stuff, except for like the brands that you normally can't get 20% off of. And I think that ends at midnight if you're listening here on the live stream today for the Labor Day sale. So
1 hour and 48 minutes. Get cracking.
Yeah. So,
well, buddy, great show. Looking forward to next week where we what I'm calling the freshman frat house on the show, where we got Logan Parks, John Garrett, Rob G. We got their cameraman coming on, and we got Big Daddy Cody Huff, who's going to be joining as well. So make sure you guys come and join in on that live stream. It's going to be a lot of fun. Appreciate y'all, and we'll see you on the next one.